Hi everyone, Kate here, and in this video, I'll be sharing 3 recipes for historical perfumes with a springtime theme. These recipes are based on actual perfume blends from the Victorian period through to the early 1920s, as published in antique pharmaceutical manuals. I have had to make a few modern adaptations, but I've tried to keep them as close as possible to the originals. Many of the more sophisticated blends use small quantities of a lot of different oils, which can get quite expensive if you don't already have a large essential oil collection. So because of this, I've tried to pick a range of recipes, including a simple 2-oil recipe. To begin, let's discuss the perfume making procedure before getting into the actual recipes. These scents are all made the same way. You take all your ingredients, pour them into a small spray bottle, and shake well. It's really as easy as that. These perfumes can all be used right away, but the scents will continue to develop and blend over time and are typically best after at least a week or 2. Now onto our recipes. Let's start with the simplest of our springtime scents and work our way up to the more complex blend. This first recipe comes from the Druggist's Circular Formula book, which was published in 1920. It is for an Irish flowers perfume. For this recipe, you will need 6 drops of vanilla essential oil, 60 drops of a rose essential oil. Now, I like to use a Rose de May oil as it has a bit of a brighter scent and is also more economical than most of the other rose essential oil varieties. And lastly, 0.8 to 1 ounce of plain high-proof alcohol, such as perfumer's alcohol. I made mine with 0.8 of an ounce, but feel free to add a bit more alcohol, as I said, up to about 1 ounce, if you prefer a lighter scent blend. The final perfume, as you might expect, has a very soft, sweet rose scent. Although, if you are very tired when you're making this the first time, and you accidentally grab your bottle of rose geranium oil instead of rose oil, it will instead smell a lot like baby powder. Oops! Next, let's make a sweet Briar perfume, which has been adapted from the Era Formulary, published in 1893. Now, I have had to make a couple changes to this blend, but as I mentioned before, I tried to keep it as close as possible to the original. For this recipe, you will need 30 drops of bergamot essential oil, 30 drops of lemon essential oil, 15 drops of lavender essential oil, 15 drops of vanilla essential oil, 6 drops of rose essential oil, again I'm using a Rose de May, a 1/4 teaspoon of almond extract, and yes, I am just using a food-grade almond extract. I have tried using actual almond essential oil before, and it's acrid. But the food-grade extract works well as a more approachable alternative. And lastly, 1 ounce of high-proof alcohol. If you find the blend a bit too strong or slightly irritating on the skin, you can always further dilute it by adding in more alcohol. This perfume blend smells to me very fresh, green, and perhaps slightly spicy at first, before slowly fading to a softer, sweet floral. Does it smell anything like the plant it's meant to emulate? I actually have no idea, as I can't recall ever having actually sniffed a sweetbriar, but it's a very pretty scent regardless. This one actually might have been my favorite of the 3. One thing to keep in mind is that this scent does contain citrus oils, which can cause photosensitivity. I get around this risk by applying the perfume to clothing rather than directly on the skin if I'm going to be outside. And lastly, for our most complex scent blend, which uses a whopping 10 different essential oils, we have Spring Flowers Perfume, which sounds just perfect for this time of year. This recipe has been adapted from Pharmaceutical Formulas, which was published in 1902. Again, with this one, I've had to make a few changes due to the modern availability of ingredients, but as I said before, I've tried to keep it as close as possible to the original. For this recipe, you will need 16 drops of vanilla essential oil, 15 drops of bergamot essential oil, 9 drops of rose geranium essential oil, 6 drops of sandalwood essential oil, 5 drops of orange essential oil, 5 drops of lemon essential oil, 5 drops of benzoin essential oil, 5 drops of lavender essential oil, 3 drops of rose essential oil, 3 drops of neroli essential oil, and lastly, between 0.9 ounces and 1 ounce of plain high-proof alcohol, again, depending on how strong you like your scent. The final scent is perhaps the most sophisticated of the lot, and smells to me most like a quote-unquote store-bought perfume. It starts out as a rich floral before fading to a slightly spicy vanilla over time. The addition of the benzoin resin, which in itself has sort of a vanilla-y scent, helps the scent to last longer on the skin. I find the aroma quite enchanting, but I don't know that I would buy all the oils from scratch to make it. It isn't expensive if you already have the oils on hand, since, as I mentioned earlier, it only uses a little bit of each, but it would be very costly if you had to buy every single oil for just this recipe. One little bonus recipe for those of you on a very small budget would be to just mix a single essential oil with the alcohol. Rose, lavender, or bergamot are all great historically appropriate options. Well, that's it for today. I'd love to know your favorite scent for spring. I'm personally quite excited to have these new ones in my collection. Pure essential oil perfumes don't always last quite as long on the skin, but as someone who is allergic to most commercial perfumes, it's nice to know exactly what is in these and that they will be safe for me to use. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye! This video is made possible through the generous support of my Patreon members. Thank you.